Happy Kwaai Day, everybody. January 19, the 25th Kwaai weekly public meeting. That's great. Just some notes of to mark on the calendar. This week we had the 30th anniversary of the Northridge earthquake. Why is that significant? Well, it's significant to us because a month or two before the earthquake, I'd accepted a job offer in Northridge, working for a disk drive company that thought, hey, you know, it'd be good to set up a video systems division to set up to record video to disk drives. Who knew that would become a thing? And so I'm also wearing my Lightworks t-shirt. That was the project that actually brought me from London to Los Angeles originally. And Lightworks is an editing system that transformed, it was an automation that transformed the very industry of Hollywood, the way that movies are edited. And it's still going. It's still going. And Martin Scorsese's movie, I just sat through it, 3 hours and 26 minutes. Perhaps could have done with a bit more editing, but he still uses the editing software that was written all those years ago in the early 90s. We're part of a movement now. We are transforming not just one industry. AI is set to transform multiple industries and multiple jobs that we thought were stable. So the purpose of us all getting together is because we've got this sort of uneasy queasiness, this sort of anxiety about whether, set on its current course, we'll get humane and safe outcomes for all of us. I don't know, the skeptics in us think that maybe we won't, and that's why we're together in this altruistic intervention in order to ensure that we can counteract the forces of monopolization and the forces that are going to devalue us. We want AI to be a force for empowerment that can empower each individual. I prefer the phrase amplified intelligence. It makes me a smarter person. It makes me a better me, makes me more valuable in the workplace rather than diminishing my value. I'm going to get off my soapbox and hand it right back to Matt. Thanks very much.
Awesome, and a great reminder. And we've had, you know, some really good, deep discussions this week in both the Kwaai messaging channel as well as the Kwaai funding channel. The Kwaai funding committee met for the first time this week on Thursday. Really appreciate some of the leadership and guidance, especially from Kwaai advisor Michael Nathan. Michael, I see you're on the call here. Anything you would like to just quickly say there?
Just to reiterate Reza's sentiment of Happy Kwaai Day. I look forward to these calls every week, and it's happening more frequently than it's faster than I thought. The weeks are flying by. That being said, the importance for us to stay uber focused on task at hand. You know, we're down to not 52 weeks, we're down to 48 weeks, right? And it's going quickly. So I think if we, in our meetings, have milestones that we can gauge, measure in any of our meetings, just to see if we're tracking internally for our own benefit. It'll help us along the way. And that also carries over to our funding efforts as well. You know, our message was purpose, process, and benefit, and understanding our why, which will ultimately lead to our core differentiation as to why would people invest in Kwaai. And that's what we're focused on the funding side. So all of your conversations, all of your contributions help guide and shape and mold our why and our differentiation. So keep it going, guys. This is great. This is super exciting. And it's Kwaai Day. I mean, come on. we have to have a tropical drink for that.
We do. Excellent. Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Wonderful, Michael. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, definitely drop into those channels in the Slack. We would love some asynchronous contributions here, comments, you know, questions, thoughts, observations. You know, as Michael said, this is really, you know, the time to shape this all is now. And we're working to kind of channel a lot of this energy and enthusiasm into something that will resonate with funders. So very important for us to, really be in belief of this mission, and that passion, as Afshin, was sharing on the Kwaai Funding Committee meeting, is really a core part of that. The passion of everyone here and the reason that we show up for Kwaai Day and look forward to this every week. So thank you all for that personally as well. To that note, sent out the Kwaai survey this week. Please do check it out. I'm like really thankful of all the responses we've had already. There are over 20 responses already. I really appreciate that. It's not a short survey. Not everything's required, but folks are really filling it in and making some very astute observations. Positive, negative, supportive, critical. Please, please, please. This is an opportunity, again, to help shape a lot of what this year is going to mean to Kwaai. And there's also the call for papers in there for Scale. So please don't forget, we do have Scale coming up. It's March 14th in Pasadena. Kwaai Fam will be presenting at the Scale conference. The Kwaai Summit, is going to be co-located on March 14th with Scale. Scale is going on from March 14th to March 17th, co-located. But this is a real big opportunity. And in that survey as a CFP, both, asking if you can come, but also if you have anything to share and contribute. We've already received some very interesting, contributions and thoughts, topical ideas. Even if it's not something that you would like to present, please give us your feedback of something that you would like to see. So all that feedback is super important, especially right now. And please join us in the Kwaai Summit channel. We're putting together a Kwaai Summit committee to get this thing organized, to make sure we can get folks out there. If the funding comes into play at time, we're hoping that we can also help people get there. So this all converges, and it's all super important, and we'd love your feedback on everything. Let me check one thing here. Oh, good. Work group organizing update real quick. So we had some great progress this week on also just organizing how we get work done here within Kwaai. The tools group has been kind of this front end, back end thinking. And we had some realizations today. And Lynn Hardy, I see that you're on as well. I'd love for you to chime in here with any comments. But we had some realizations this week that really what this is it's about a Pi user experience, and then about all of the things that make that user experience happen. And so we had some good conversations, some good chats. We came to some thinking about what Pi is versus what Pi OS is. And we're starting to organize around these two themes with the tools group and the engineering group. So the user experience, this includes the Pi applications like the communications assistant. This includes the healthcare application that Diego and the team are looking at, from how can Pi help with somebody's personal healthcare decisions and other applications and user experiences like that. And then on the back end, we'll hear from a lot of that team today, the folks that are actually going to, make those user experiences happen. Please join those groups. We're also expected to maybe shift the times, move off of Mondays. That's been some general feedback. Again, please put your feedback in the Kwaai survey on this stuff. What works well for you? And it'll be very important that we get these things rescheduled. The feedback on Monday is that Monday's often a holiday, and as a volunteer-based organization, we don't really get the benefit of making that up. So we really do appreciate everybody's contributions throughout the week. We know that Kwaai is a commitment for you to take the time, and we do want to make that easy for you, but also give you the ability to drop in when you're able and contribute when you can. The policy group is also going to be kicking off on Sunday. This group has some asynchronous objectives. So there's a live kickoff meeting with the team. Ruth Rasool is our board sponsor for that. Sushil Kumar and Marcus have been leading that from the advisory committee. We're all going to come together on Sunday. And then it is expected that a lot of these objectives are going to be asynchronous. So policy papers, sharing, commenting and things like that. So definitely get involved in the policy channel. It's a good time. And Ruth, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you've got it, Matt. I'm looking forward to getting that up and running on Sunday. I will have my tea ready and my tea and toast ready.
You can go to 2 Sunday kickoffs on Sunday, is what I realized. And we had Kwaai Day breakout group. So this was an idea that came out from some feedback already from the survey. The hackathon's been hugely successful. It continues on after this call. Please join that. Really as a breakout group for Kwaai. You know, the engineers getting together and just talking about engineering stuff, exploring different concepts that don't necessarily relate to deliverable objectives that we cover in the working group meetings earlier in the week. We've had some thoughts to extend this concept to other teams, other work groups. So, for example, a funding committee breakout, the fundamentals breakout, other types of breakout sessions immediately following the Kwaai Day 10 a.m. Pacific time meeting. So this would hopefully give some folks maybe 30-minute meeting slots. You know, does certainly limit the ability for people to bounce around, but would love some feedback on that idea. And if we can get some of those arranged, so we can have some folks contribute more frequently. All right, and with that, I think we're right on schedule. Look at this. I'm really pleased to pass this over to Karsten Wade. Karsten Wade is a Kwaai advisor, a partner at Open Community Architects, and is going to be sharing with us today about open source AI and some of the considerations for our licensing decisions. We need to make a decision. It's in the survey to get your feedback on how we are going to license the code that Kwaai creates for personal AI. Please weigh in the survey, but this is a great opportunity to hear from an expert in the industry some thoughts to consider as you're making these choices. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Karsten, though I realize I need to get him screen share access. So why don't you introduce yourself while I do that?
Well, I appreciate, you know, I thank you, Reza. That, like, I literally had my brain doing that earlier, and then I went through and did a backwards edit somehow. I'm going to need you to just forgive me for this hour because I don't have time to go back and do my.
That's lovely. No worries. Carry on. Karsten.
I mean, I was looking at it. Yeah, wow. You know, you'd think I wasn't a copy editing expert. Yeah, no, I was really jamming on doing these a couple hours ago, and I think so I will be updating. I'll also update the short URL later. So just yeah, I'll actually do that as soon as I'm done with the presentation because I'll have a few minutes because this will go quick. Okay, so let me start at the top. I thank you for the sharing. Let me hit the share, and I'm going to try to that, and let's see what the presenting should. Let me start the slideshow. Yes. Okay, great. And so what I wanted to, one of the things I wanted to point out at the beginning, hi, I'm Karsten Wade. Thanks for the introduction. I'm a community architect, which just means that just like you want to architect software or big projects or things like that, when you want to do things with the community, a community architect can be really helpful. And I'm a founder of a new consultancy that started last year after I left Red Hat. Open Community Architects, and I'm saying a few of those things as well, just because I wanted to point out. Matt and I had a quick discussion about doing slides, and he suggested that I look at doing some personal branding on there as a habit for other people to pick up. So I took a shot at doing the presentation this way with my brand in the lower right corner, smaller than the Kwaai brand. You know, maybe it needs to be smaller. And other things, suggestions are welcome. So this is just an offering in the spirit of open. For a way to get things done, and if it's helpful, well, you know, the slides are available at the incorrect link. Should be bigger. Thank you. Well, I mean, I'm thinking about trademark rules that often want one thing to be bigger, another one smaller, and that kind of thing. So just that usual bit. And this, of course, is the URL, and I will update this to be spelled correctly shortly, and then I'll update the slides to follow. But that's just a quick page to have a link to get to these slides if that's something that is useful to you. As we're following along. And now, how do I get there we go. So this is a quick overview of what I'm going to cover in the next 11 and a half minutes or so. we had some conversations recently and realized that I wanted to make sure that we baselined on what open actually means, what we see in this context. A lot of times we presume, sorry, I know I'm talking fast, I can slow down. A lot of times we presume that people understand already. Everyone around us knows what open source is. I'm the one person who doesn't understand, and just kind of move on from there. So I'm going to take a few minutes to dig into those, and that'll help build up to the open source AI definition that's been proposed by under proposal by the Open Source Initiative. And then I'm getting into the why for a moment, about like why does this open thing work? And all of these build up towards an understanding of when you're making a license choice, it's not just about the legal issues that you're concerned about, it's also about the cultural issues, or I call it the factual and the cultural. And within those, I can break down to what I think is the underlying parts of what makes the factual, which is the 4 essential freedoms, and the cultural, which I would link to the 4 opens. And then at the end, there's a bit of a slide that's in process, and some other discussions that are built off of what I think is out in the survey, or what Matt's got out there too, in terms of the licenses that we're looking at. And I'm trying to put together a matrix of what I think are the options that seem to be important to what I'm hearing from the community so far. So I'm going to make sure I spend a couple of minutes on that. And I also want to say here at the top that I'm planning to do a forum, or a discussion forum, a webinar, at least one starting next week. Brittany and I were talking the other day to schedule it. I think we're looking at Tuesday or something. I'll get into that in the chat after the presentation. And we can schedule at least 1 or 2 or 3 of those, however many people need before the voting is done. Just a chance to just come in, so you don't have to worry about your questions all getting answered today. And we can follow them on those. We can also carry on the discussion in Slack. And if we need a dedicated channel because it gets big, then that's great, because there's a lot of things to think about. Okay, so let's roll forward for here. And I'm going to keep an eye on chat in case any questions come open. Okay, so let's get into the what. So what is open? The basic idea is that you can take this word open with this magical definition and apply it to a different field or domain. So open comes from the open definition. Essentially, people have been using this word open for a while. The Open Knowledge Foundation decided to try to make a definition for it. It's a good definition. Maybe it could be better. Anything could be worked on. I'm a word nerd. I'll always keep digging. But open means anyone can freely access, use, modify, and share for any purpose, subject at most to requirements that preserve provenance and openness. So preserving provenance and openness will link back to things like attribution, and that you can't, and whether something can be closed later or not. So different licenses provide different abilities to make change decisions like that. So people are often talking about open sourcing something idea, and that's a sort of a more straightforward way to think about it is applying the word open. So if you want to be opening something, so there's a lot of different kinds of open have started to come up in the world, some with definitions and some without. So open scholarship is one that doesn't have a definition, but it includes open science and open research and open academia. And there's a lot of work that's happening there. And open design, of course, there's open source software, open policy. There's a lot of different approaches that people take. And there'll be can read more about those on the open work definition. So in terms of what is open source, an important thing to think about source is that the source is not the source relates to the field and domain, which is software engineering, right? But source is an artifact. There's also we know that the executable, the binary, the service, that it's something that you can actually run is also an artifact as well. But ultimately, it's a durable artifact that you can put in a library and people can come back to and get again and again. And you can put it under a license that allow people to do certain things with it. And that license is based off your copyright ownership. As a group, we make a decision. When I contribute a piece of code or a piece of content to this community, I contribute it under a license. So this presentation is contributed under the Creative Commons by SA 4.0 license, with a link in the lower left corner of the slides to remind us. So this idea of there being a work has been expanded upon recently by Professor Stephen Jacobs from the Rochester Institute of Technology at RIT. They're a multidisciplinary school, so they work on more than just software engineering. They do game design, they do movies, they do all. They've got a great studio, the Magic Studio. They're always worth a visit if you get a chance. And so Stephen created this definition of open work, and I worked with him to refine and create essentially get it set up to do a release. So the 0.1 version has been released at openworkdefinition.com. And in essence, an open work delineates the meaning of open with respect to work products and projects that are released into the public domain or under a license recognized by an entity, such as the OSI, et cetera, with the intent of promoting a robust community of collaboration around the work itself and other work that may interoperate with. So this is something that's made more generic, so it doesn't, doesn't speak too much to a particular field or domain. Okay, so the open source definition predates all of these other things, but they're all designed to kind of fit in together. And you can find the open source definition at opensource.org/OSD. That should be a link. And there's a lot more details. There's words underneath all of these, but in essence, they're saying that the software needs to be freely the license that matches the open source definition needs to make sure that the software is freely redistributable. It includes the source code. Derivative works are allowed. It retains the integrity of the original author's work or name. No discrimination against persons or groups. No discrimination against fields of endeavor. That's a particular one. Fields of endeavor. Often people want to say you can't do evil with this, or you can't do, war crimes with it. And like I totally agree with the spirit of that, but those are fields of endeavor. And once you start discriminating against one, more get pulled in. So it's one of those difficult spots that we sit in when it comes to free and open source software. The license needs to have a license that's distributed with it, and it must not be product specific, must not restrict other software, like, oh, you can't use this with evil software or anything else, or you can't use it with Oracle software, something random, who cares? License must be technology neutral, so it's not requiring a particular technology. So this is a pretty solid definition that's based off of the Debian free software definition, and it's pretty well understood around the world. And any license that's created, any open source license that is approved by the open source initiative has to meet this definition. And the last bit is that the open source initiative has been working on an open source AI definition that is meaningful to us. And we're talking about licensing code right now, but it's worth thinking about. The idea is that a license that matches the open source AI definition would also match the open source definition. So this gets to some of those questions of like, should we create our own license? And everybody asks that question. That's one of the reasons why there's so many licenses in the world. It's because people too often say yes. But sometimes a new license is needed, and we are going to be needing new licenses when we are bundling software and models, LLMs together, and other new things we haven't even figured out yet. And I've done a little bit of work at the end of last year on this with a large group of community of people. You can read about it at the opensource.org/deep dive. To be open source, an AI system needs to make its components available under licenses that individually grant the freedoms to study how the system works and respect its components, use the system for any purpose and without having to ask for permission, modify the system to change its recommendations, predictions, or decisions to adapt to your needs, share the system with or without modifications for any purpose. Okay. So that all gives us the underpinnings of what we're thinking about from of the license, of how license comes together. And I just wanted to take a moment to reflect upon, because I want to be leaning towards where, the factual and the cultural, and what do I really mean by that? And I'd say in short, my thinking is that there's a number of reasons why open works, but I think it boils down to the first of all is that primarily it speaks to the fair in all of us. And when we sit down and really think through any particular problem and how to do something in the most fair way, it ends up often mirroring an open practice. And so the practices that we've created around doing things in this open method have come to really be refined, to have a high degree of fairness and sense of for human beings involved. And that really allows us, when people are feeling things are really fair, then they feel they're much more likely to cooperate, and they're much more likely to collaborate on things. The other option is to be afraid. That's the other one that makes cooperation and collaboration happen. So I think going for the fair is a better thing to do. And the other is that open, rather than as a doctrine, it's not a perfection, it's a practice. And we continually refine it and understand it in terms of how the world is and how technology is and how the more we understand about our fellow humans. And once we've, and I think this is the most, of course, I'm a word person, I guess, when it comes down to it. So my thinking is that because it's been written down, that's the difference. Because we've given a word and a term to it. It's the difference between having 50 words for the kinds of things that water can do when it freezes versus one or two words for it, like snow and ice. How much more meaning can you get when you've got 50 words? And this is a case where we've found more meaning by having captured it and applying this open to it. And having done so, we can now repeat it amongst each other. We can spread the ideas to each other. It can be studied, it can be understood, and we can iterate on it and improve it. So this just speaks back into why our process is. So yeah, so that's kind of like the grounding in the whole open part. And the how is where this comes together is there are two particular parts of this. What I've been thinking of as the factual and then the cultural. So the factual parts of open really refers back to the 4 essential freedoms written by, I think, originally Richard Stallman in the GNU Project, and which is the origin of the GNU Project is the creator of the GNU public license, the GPL. So the freedom 0, the freedom to run the program as you wish for any purpose. 1, the freedom to study how the program works and change it so it does your computing as you wish. Access to source code is a precondition for this. 2, the freedom to redistribute copies so you can help others. 3, the freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions to others. By doing this, you can give the whole community a chance to benefit from your changes. Access to the source code is a precondition for this. So this is essentially the sort of what connects us up to the rule of law, what allows us to say, okay, a license is something that we know is going to hold up in a court. And one reason why that's important is the GPL, as far as I know, is either the primary or the only. It's pretty well tested in the court, but I don't know if any of those licenses has been under anywhere near a federal court review as a GPL has. So when you want to get an idea of some set of guidelines that really will hold up well under the rule of law in multiple countries, the 4 essential freedoms really get us there. Right. So we have a fact of being open because we have a license, but then there's also the cultural of open. And the key thing is that a license choice really is a cultural choice. And when you pick a license, you're doing more than just saying what you want to happen factually. You're also telling a lot of other people, if you like this license and agree with it, then we want you to come along. And if you don't like this license and don't agree with it, we're okay that you don't come along and won't use our stuff. And it's because within the licenses, there are some subtle differences of opinion. They all can still match the 4 essential freedoms, but they come down to different philosophies and ethos. And when it comes down to the philosophies and ethos, a lot of it has to do with how people think we should be doing this open thing. And the best way that anybody's described the doing of the open thing is the OpenStack community, or now the Open Infra Foundation. Have defined what they call the 4 opens. And this community of folks are people, many of whom went on to then create be behind the cloud native or Kubernetes community. And before the OpenStack community, they had been around for Linux and MySQL and other early communities. So there are people who've been around for up to 3 decades or longer doing this sort of thing. And so there's a lot of understanding and distillation in what they do. And the idea that as a community we want to be focusing on to get the open thing right, having open source software, doing open design, which is all these meetings, all these discussions, creating them in formats that people can look at and archive and read and so forth, doing open development and having an open community. And so I see all those elements in practice here. And I think, so part of this is to reflect and say, oh, we are doing these things. And just to know that at each turn, you go back to these opens to answer the question of how you do something. And I literally left no time to talk about these options because there's not much to say, because I don't have an opinion to express here. I'll express my opinion in my survey results. But I think that, and pardon the small font, but it really comes down to what I was trying to break out in this matrix. And there's a lot of ways you can matrix licenses, but I've been hearing that attribution is important to people. I've been hearing that permissive is maybe important to people. And copyright left may also be important to people. What do those terms mean? Those are things we're going to have to dig into a little bit more. But in general, and I think I'm going to probably end on this, is when it comes down to it, the BSD and the GPL licenses are ones that are kind of 2 very opposite extremes when it comes to their philosophies, all still while maintaining the same 4 opens Yeah, I mean, for freedoms. The and the open source BSD, I guess, doesn't match the open source definition, does it? Wait, no, that's the old BSD license. Anyway, permissive is basically, permissive it gives people the permission to do what they want to with the source code. They don't have to modify, they don't have to give their changes back to the world. They can take it and relicense it under another license. They can do anything they want to with it. And you basically give people enough room to do good or harm themselves. And many people learn over time it's difficult to go off by themselves and run source code, and it's better to come back and work on it with the community. And so the BSD communities have really learned that you just let people do what they want to with it, and either they disappear and you don't care, or they come back and they want to do something with you. The copyleft is a different ethos. It says we think that everybody should be doing things together with this software, and so if you make and distribute your software so that it will, so that someone else distribute it so others can have it, you also need to make your changes that you've made to that software available to anybody who asks for them. And this can also then extend to some degree to the software that's around and how they're bundled together, and they get some differences of things in there. So there's a lot of deep nuances, and I think that we could dig into those for a long time. And so that's why I wanted to set up these webinar discussion forums afterwards. So we'll shift the conversations over to there, because I know we don't have a lot of time for Q&A here. But that, I think, is all I've got. So I'm going to stop now.
Wow, thanks so much, Karsten.
Yeah, super fascinating, Karsten. Thank you really for taking us through all of that. That was really well thought out. Really appreciate too the idea and the leadership for Brittany. Brittany, I see her on the call as well. We don't really have a lot of time for questions, but Brittany, is anything you'd like to add or say in addition here?
No, I think we need to get a discussion going. Thank you so much, Karsten, for the rundown. And I think now the next best thing to do is schedule a meeting for everyone so we can all get our questions asked or just opinions out and figure out what this community wants in a license.
Absolutely. And we're going to make that decision, tallying the votes from the survey on January 31st. And I really appreciate too the thoughtfulness of Karsten and Brittany thinking about these webinars. I'm going to work with them to put something together that's going to, we'll look to make public. Great opportunity to share some Kwaai knowledge with the world, to share Karsten's knowledge with the world. And on that note, and to that effect, that's a big part of Kwaai here. We're all volunteers. We're all here to, volunteer our time and expertise. And so there is some return to that. We would love for you to share your expertise, and we'd love to use Kwaai to help you amplify your expertise. So, if you're interested in doing a lightning talk, if you'd like to put on a webinar about some topic, I'd love to explore with you how we can have Kwaai promote that and drive folks to see it. Let's move to the engineering update first. Cyan, I'm going to go ahead and click through your slides here. We'll start with that, and then I'm super excited because we've got a Pi demo, use case demo coming up here today. So, Cyan, you want to give us kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Happy Kwaai Day. So for this week, we had a few goals. The main ones were refine user stories, and that's something that we're already working on. We're splitting a little bit the user stories that we created, so it has more refined steps of what is actually being worked on. We are defining a low-level roadmap, and we are doing some integrations between everything that we have worked so far. So we are putting everything together. Those were the main goals for this week. Can we jump to the next slide, Matt, please? Thank you. So where we are at right now, this is a timeline for the first month. Basically, everything that is marked with the check is that it's being completed, and everything that is marked with the hammer is that it's in progress right now and is being developed. So we already have most of the things that we are going to be integrating into the POC. So the re-email from data IMAP was completed during the week 1 of the month, so that's complete. Fine-tuning individual lemma model, that's something we are currently working on. We had some stoppers there because of the GPU required for the fine-tuning, but it's okay. We're handling that. Detecting new emails, we worked on that during week 2 and week 3, and that's completed. We're creating an LLM microservice that is going to be handling all the prompting between the Llama model and Pi. So that's something that Roy is working on, and it's been 2 weeks now, like 1.5 week, 2 weeks during that development process, and we are aiming to finish that during week 4. What else we have? We have the labeling emails. So Emiliano and Anna were working this week on creating the labeling categories for all the emails that are incoming. We have that in the demo included. However, there are a few steps that we need to finish, which is basically assigning everything to a professional and professional category. I think that one is not working yet. So that's something that is in progress, but it's 50% completed. Email pre-processing, basically cleaning everything that is coming through to detect whether it is a real email that we need to reply, it is a no reply email, and basically detecting everything that is coming through the user's inbox. That's completed. Basically was completed this week, but we have been working on that since week 1. We haven't worked on the suggesting an email draft. That's blocked because of the Llama 2 model that is being fine-tuned, but that's something that we're going to be working on next week. And we already have the draft response created via IMAP. Currently, we're just hard-coding a response, but eventually we will switch to the actual response that is coming from Llama 2. So that's the timeline for this month and how we're going to be completing it. Can we jump to the next slide, Matt? All right. Next week, we're going to be working on finishing the user story refinement and the roadmap. And we will be working on more integrations, basically integrating the Llama 2 into our POC, which is the last step to finish the initial core functionality. And we're going to be doing some testing. So I think that for now, we can jump into the actual demo of what we have been presenting. And I created a video, and it is pretty good. It's like a 3-minute video.
All right, give me just 1 sec to switch this over. I hope the AV works okay. Fantastic job, Arcus team. Riza, anything you'd like to share here before we kick this demo off?
Yeah, just briefly, thanks so much to the Arcus team. I hope to come down to visit you in your lab, maybe before the month is up. I just want to say Arcus was one of the first supporters of Kwaai, even before the July meeting. I met with Angel and Eunice at the beginning of the year and described this concept of a collaborative AI lab. So far, they've committed 6 developers. That's a huge commitment. And I got off a call with Angel and Eunice yesterday, and we're talking about growing that by an order of magnitude over the next 24 months. So that's fantastic. Nothing to reveal publicly yet, but an MOU is in the making, and that I think without Arcus, we will just be a talking shop. Thanks so much.
Fascinating. Yeah, and well said on just talking. They're really helping us get all the work done. Let's show some of that. I'm going to share this tab, and I think the audio is going to be set for it. So let's get this going. A little bit of a, here we go, a little bit of a lead here.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So here I'm gonna present our first demo, and this is like where we were working so far. So here, as you can see, we have our inbox, where we have like different emails, unseen emails. Like, for example, I'm going to expand this one. Like, for example, this, which is like a professional, which has a professional context, spam context, and other available contexts. So I'm going to show you how this works. So here, this is our first endpoint. So I'm going to send this post request. And here we are doing is like we are trying to roll out the emails which are not potential to be create a draft. So with this, okay, so here, as you can see, we have already created 3 different directories, which is the personal, professional, and undefined directory. And yeah, so here it's taking its time because our spam model, which is in Hugging Face, is taking its time to process all the body, all of these emails. So here that we are returning are just the clean emails, which are potential to create a trapped response. And well, this is a list to be ready, which is ready to be consumed by the next API, and in this case by Llama2 to create the later trapped response. And if I refresh this page, as you can see here, we are tagging the emails which are not potential to be create a draft. So in this case, we are still working on how we are gonna put or classify the emails in these two tags, personal and professional. And so if I go here, I'm just having the emails like we are rolling out. Like, for example, this one, which was an example of a spam, and others which are unsubscribed emails, and yeah, security alerts and so on. So this is one part that I wanted to show you, and the other part is like we have another endpoint to create the trapped response. So if I send this request here, I can see that I already created an attempt, right, of a trap response. It is not finished yet. We are still working on that. But yeah, so far is that what we have till now. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Annie, and the team. Great presentation. Emiliano, fantastic work. Great job. Cyan, thank you.
Good job, everyone. Wonderful.
Awesome. So good. And Karsten said that seeing localhost makes his heart go pitter patter. So that's a big part of what we're doing here. We're designing a personal AI assistant that you can run yourself, that's not a part of a centralized service. And so to see these pieces coming together, it's pretty incredible. Any questions or thoughts or comments here? I'd love to open it up and get some feedback and thoughts and ideas.
I have a couple of questions. That was awesome. This was great. So then how it's working is the AI itself tells you what's undefined. So how are you going to get those defined? Would there be interaction with the user then? You'll eventually work with the Pi to say, this is how you should define the undefined tags, or how are you guys going to work that in?
I think like till now, like to tag the emails which are undefined, we're just using this Hugging Face spam model. Mm-hmm. But that we are working now is like among these clean emails, we still need to decide like what tone is this, right? Like it could be professional or personal. Mm-hmm. So for that, we are planning like till now, use maybe OpenAI to send a prompt and then use that response to tag professional or personal.
Actually, I've got some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And it chimes with what Matt was saying. We shouldn't be in the business of imposing strictly defined classifications for your content. Instead, we should use the AI to allow you to cluster the emails in this sort of multi-dimensional semantic space, and maybe provide a visualization of that. And then you can say, okay, well, that cluster over there represents my life sciences community. This cluster over here represents people that are trying to sell me insurance. This cluster over here. And so you have this dialogue with your personal assistant where it presents you your communication channels and all your communication history in a semantic space. graphically, and then you get to label it and work with it. This is very different. This is a differentiator, very different to the way that services vendors would try and impose a template on you.
No, I like that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, how are you going to eventually? But that's going to be that's going to probably take like a week for you, or maybe a day for you to interact with Pi to eventually get there. And then after that, you just leave it, let it go, right? And then that's it.
Yeah, just leave it and let it go. Or you can go and refine that and say, yeah, let me break up this cluster of life sciences colleagues. These are academics, and these are bio startups. And it'll be up to you. And I think all of that is going to be personal to you as well.
No, that's super neat. Yeah, great work. That's my question. That was it.
It's great to see running software. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great work, everyone. And fantastic topic, Afshin. I'd like to point folks with thoughts on this to the Pi UX, formerly known as the Pi Front End channel. There's some thoughts emerging in there. What's the minimum amount of information that a Pi needs to really help you with your life? Is that up to us to require? Or is this part of the user experience of Pi getting to know its principal user? I also want to I keep shouting out this article, and I'll do it again. Jim Baker posted this in the Random channel about just a future vision of what this network of digital assistants, might look like. And there's some really interesting thoughts and perspectives in there from Daniel Meisler. I hope I didn't butcher that. Love to open it up for more comments here. We're running a little short, but would love to open up for member voices. Member voices is an opportunity to introduce yourself, share about what you're working on, and get an opportunity to connect with other Kwaai members. I do see a bunch of new names today, so my tradition is if you don't use the virtual hand raise, you might get called on. So that's a little bit of forewarning, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand so I don't have to do that. If you'd like to introduce yourself or weigh in on a comment, we'd love to hear from you today.
Or for new members, of what they think about
especially, yes. I'm going to be calling on people like Asit and Bron, and it looks like Fabian is here. I'd love to hear, comments in the chat are welcomed as well, but good opportunity to weigh in. Not all at once. Asit Patel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Asit Patel. I'm a intellectual property attorney in Chicago. I've been with my firm for 20 years, but as of last week, I actually resigned because I'm going to start an AI company for IP services. So over the last year, I've been demoing quite a few products and realized that the need just isn't being met. And I think that I can find the right team of people to build it. So that's kind of my interest here. I've been following a lot of you folks on LinkedIn, a lot of great information, and hope to be able to contribute back to the community whichever way I can.
Welcome and thank you. Policy group kickoff sounds well aligned here. Nutrition facts for models is certainly something that's a key goal for Kwaai.
Yeah, Asit, we'd love to have your participation in the community, and maybe find you a slot in the advisory committee. But thanks so much for joining up.
Welcome. This ends up happening alphabetically, but Bron, would you like to introduce yourself? I will be skipping forward. Pedro, I see you're on. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. So I'm from the mobile game field. I've mainly been developing mobile games with Unity, some with Unreal, but mostly with the Unity game engine. And lately I've been doing some interfaces, so I'm really interested. I'm really keen on getting into that side of things, user interfaces, and that was my main interest in getting into this.
Pedro, Unity would be a powerful tool. I've used it in projects before for full 3D animation, especially if you're talking to your personal assistant. To have it graphically represented somewhere is also great, but also as a proxy for you interacting with other systems. So a real live avatar that's your representative in meetings is also going to be powerful.
Definitely, yes. I mean, I've been venturing a bit into AR too, or what's called XR, where you're definitely going to have a lot of powerful tools just to interact with the space, right, around you, just with your hands, and that could be quite interesting if we start implementing some of this with AI. Yeah.
Right. Pedro, we had an interesting conversation yesterday. What we're building is a personal AI operating system. So the traditional notion of what's an operating system, it's the software that allows you to run applications on a computer. So if we're building an operating system, what is the computer? Well, it's the computer that runs our lives. It's typically now the internet. It's not this laptop that's in front of me. Now, peripherals, your input and output devices might be very close to you. They might be wearables. They might be all sorts of devices. So the notion of what is the computer is a bit more hybrid and spread out. But we're building the personal operating system, the personal AI operating system, and having some of the skills from the games domain will certainly not be out of place here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Pedro, and thank you for introducing yourself. Fabian, would you like to say a few words?
Sure thing. Nice to meet you all. This is my first meeting. I am part of Impel, which is a company that's under the Mind Group umbrella. So we share space with Arcus. And the purpose of Impel is to, well, first of all, to do implementations for Salesforce users, but we're starting to get into the AI ecosystem as well with 2 projects that are in our pipeline. So Eunice talked to me about Kwaai, and seems like there could be interesting synergies here. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Excellent. Welcome, Fabian. Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome, Fabian. And we're running a little short on time. We'll wrap it up at 11 certainly. But any other new folks would like to weigh in? Please feel free to come off mute. All right. I did want to give a shout out and my apologies to the team that's really working on the model fine tuning. So that's Balaji, that's Colin Miller, and that's Jesus from the Arcus Nexus team. They have some updates to share. Check them out in the Pi architecture channel on the back end. And I really am hoping that they can weigh in next week and teach us a little more about fine tuning and contexts and epochs and all of the fun things that they're getting into as we start to figure out how to make Pi more responsive to its principal user. Any other comments from any advisors or members or observers that have joined today? We have time for 1 or 2 more if you'd like to raise your hand. All right, then Riza, why don't you take us out?
Fantastic. I'd like to share and just roll some video by way of a dismount. So if you can give me sharing rights.
Should be good.
Okay, share now. The window is that. Let's hope this works because it's a video. And tell me if you're seeing it, and then I'll start it playing.
Yeah, we see it. Looks
Great. Okay, and I'm gonna switch off my camera so that we can save some bandwidth, and let this old guy talk you out. Well, this is a Kwaai day at the top of Table Mountain as we're contemplating the year ahead of us, the year of artificial intelligence, but we're immersed in reality. This is what's real. Real rocks, real sky, real sea, real land, and real people. We're now at the top of Table Mountain, looking down on Lion's Head, Signal Hill. When I grew up in this town, it was at the height of apartheid, a dark time in this country's history. The fate of this nation is analogous to the fate of the entire global predicament we're in. Forces that drive the increasing monopolization of power and wealth are those forces that also increase the gap between rich and poor. It's vitally important that we mobilize rather than moan, that we organize rather than writing passive blogs about the dire situation we're in. It's not just artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not a new phenomenon. It's an extra tool in the hand of capitalism to continually concentrate wealth amongst very few individuals. What is called for is an altruistic intervention, a movement of volunteers, a democratization of artificial intelligence. South Africa underwent a move towards democracy, set them on a path to right the wrongs of the past, and there's no going back. In the area of artificial intelligence, we have a similar phenomenon, this trend of monopolization. An oligopoly controls the industry. It's our thesis that every consumer, every user has to own their own artificial intelligence, own and operate it themselves. But let's take healthcare as an example. Your digital twin, my digital twin, is now owned by several different healthcare providers. My financial habits are also owned by other multiple service providers, my travel habits. What we assert is that each user should own their own AI. We'll give them the tools to be able to own and control and manage their own digital twin, their own artificial intelligence, and they would be able to negotiate, or they'll be able to expose the amount of information they want to each service provider for them to gain access. So turning the whole model on its head, rather than service operators, service providers having to glean your likes and dislikes, you can tell them. You will have your own co-pilot that will be able to engage with third-party systems in an automated way and would act on your behalf. It'll free you up, for instance, from your email inbox and handle your incoming emails for you. Automation is coming. Co-pilots are coming. Some of them are here already. What is vitally important is that you own your own co-pilot. If you don't, you are in effect giving up the pilot seat. Own your own co-pilot. Let it accelerate and amplify your capability and improve your employability. Our organization is called Kwaai. It comes from the street parlance of this very town. It means cool, it means angry, it has nuanced and complicated intentions and meanings. It's our mission to create tools to allow you to own your own AI and manage it. Kwaai is a non-profit, volunteer-based, open source developer community. It's a technical think tank and it's a policy think tank. We have technical work groups building open source software, policy work groups creating legal language, creating licensing agreements, and creating the sort of certification and nutrition facts that every single AI model should have. So Kwaai is in its infancy. We started in 2023. 2024 is the year in which we amplify it and we grow Kwaai. It's important that you join. If you are an AI thinker, you might want to volunteer. You'd be curious. You'd be eager to contribute to an international collaboration. You'll be involved in perhaps writing software, perhaps writing technical papers, perhaps contributing to publications. Come and join us. Join the movement. Join the movement that is democratizing AI. Thank you. Okay, on that note, I'm gonna, let's see, stop presenting and say goodbye to all of you.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Happy Kwaai Day.